All right, San Diego Sports Leader, it is the mighty 1090 Friday night, 7:30, Qualcomm Stadium. Mentioned this a little bit yesterday, earlier in the program. I don't have the complete schedule in front of me for every single team in the Mountain West, but I will tell you, probably not as significant a game in conference as what we will witness on Friday night. It's going to be San Diego State hosting Utah State, and what makes this unique and what makes this impactful for either side, San Diego State currently on top of the West Division of the Mountain West Conference. Utah State currently on top of the Mountain Division of the Mountain West Conference. So 7:30, ESPN2, and of course, right here with Uncle Teddy and our man Kirk Morrison, who joins us tomorrow. Let's say hello to Rocky Long. He's the head coach of the Aztecs. Aztecs getting set for this Utah State team, which just put a hurting on Boise State this past weekend. Coach, good to talk to you as always. Thank you for the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Darren.
Listen, I'm billing this as a rather significant game in the standings. I know as a coach, oftentimes you guys are paid to be even keeled. Am I making too much out of this here? What we're looking at here for Friday night? Do you want me to tone it down a little bit?
No, I don't want you to tone it down. I think the way you presented it, I think that's very true. I think we're the two teams that are undefeated in the conference. There's only two of us left. I think that whoever wins this game puts themselves in really good position for the rest of the conference schedule, and I think it's a big deal to them. I think it's a big deal to us, and I hope it's a big deal to some of the people in town.
I hope it is as well, because it's unique and it's a Friday night, and I know that there are differing opinions about playing college football on a Friday night, especially in a city that a lot of times is drawn into high school. But before I get there, Coach, and maybe this is a question for the athletic department, and you might be just studying film and trying to figure out how to slow down Utah State. But what is on the line here? Because, to me, when you have two teams on top of their respective divisions in the same conference, is this impactful for potentially the Mountain West Conference championship game? I mean, what sort of advantage does the winner get coming out of this one, potentially just looking down the road a little bit?
Well, number one, if we're fortunate enough to win, it's going to put us in at least a 2-game lead, maybe even a 3-game lead on our side of the bracket. It's going to do almost the same thing if Utah State's fortunate to win. They'll have almost the same deal, not quite the same deal, because they have Boise State that is 2-1 right now. They're 3-0. Boise State's 2-1. On our side of the bracket, the only close one we have is San Jose. They're 2-2. So if we were fortunate enough to win, it would give us a huge buffer or a huge advantage to finish out the year. But I think what it really means is that right now we're the two best teams in the league, them on their side, us on our side, and we get to determine who the best team in the whole league is on Friday night.
So, out of curiosity then, how is it determined who has home field advantage? Again, I know you probably hate me getting way ahead of ourselves here because you haven't even played, but how is it determined then, just bigger picture, who hosts the Mountain West Conference Championship game?
It's the winner of either side that is ranked the highest in the polls, basically, in the BCS poll.
Okay, highest in the BCS poll. All right. Well, we'll worry about that next week. How about that?
Well, how about we don't worry about it all for 3 weeks and we keep winning?
All right, well, fair enough. Coach, let's talk a little bit about the fact you guys are on a streak here. I know disappointing through the preseason, as we discussed a few weeks back, heading into that game against Fresno State. But you've won now 3 straight games in conference. You beat Fresno State. You've won at Hawaii. You put a thumping on San Jose State in their building, 30-7, the final score this past Saturday night. What's the difference between your team today and a month ago?
I think we've gotten better in key spots. I think the offensive line has gotten better. I thought I saw signs of it the second half of Penn State, and they've continued to improve, which allows our best player to have the ball in his hands and him be able to run with the football. And that's how we base it on offense. It gives us the ball in time of possession. We eat up some yardage. We score some points, which keeps the defense off the field. And now, obviously, we're more confident than we were a few weeks ago. But I think it's just the key in the offensive line. And then I think our secondary is playing well, too.
A couple of weeks last time we chatted, we were talking about Donnell Pumphrey, and you weren't even sure that he was going to be able to go against Hawaii. And it seemed like at the time with a high ankle sprain, everybody just presumes that that's going to be a couple of weeks injury here. How is he able to get back on the field, not only get back out there on the field, but look like the DJ Pumphrey of old against Hawaii and certainly last week against San Jose State?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, there's obviously reasons. Maybe the severity of the ankle injury wasn't as bad as originally thought. The other thing is he's a tough-minded young man that is going to play, even though he might be hurt a little bit, he's going to play. But when he came out jogging the Monday after the game, when he got hurt, everybody was shocked about that, and he must be one of those fast healers as well. Plus, he's like I said, he's tough. He's a tough guy and wants to play.
You got some players back. We're talking to Rocky Long, head coach, San Diego State. Aztecs, Friday night, Utah State at Qualcomm Stadium, 7:30 here on the Mighty 1090. Also broadcast nationally on ESPN2. You got some players off suspension. How do you integrate them back into the mix here? You got guys who hadn't played for you yet this year. How do you get them back involved? How do you get them up to speed?
Well, they've been with the team the whole time now. They've been on the scout team when we go to team periods. They've been on the scout team until last week, and then they were with the travel squad last week, so they're getting their reps on what we're doing against the opponent. All four of them played in the game. Three of them played mostly on special teams. Two of them played in the game. Now, Darrell Green started on offensive guard and played the whole game at offensive guard, and we think made a pretty big difference. The other three are getting more accustomed to it now, so they'll see more playing time as we go. But it's basically how they practice. If they practice well, they get to play more.
Talking to Rocky Long, head coach at San Diego State. Coach, you're playing on Friday night. It's a nationally televised game. Saturday, there are dozens and dozens of college football games here. I always find it interesting. You know, college football now at times is played often on Tuesdays, sometimes on Thursdays. There'll be a couple Thursday games coming up this week. You guys get a Friday game. There's a million on Saturday. For you, generally speaking, philosophically, do you like playing on a Friday night, having the stage somewhat to yourself?
Well, since we're speaking philosophically, no, not really. I think all college football ought to be played at 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. That's what I believe, and I know that's not the case. And everybody's in the process of trying to make money so that the whole athletic department can be successful and have the resources they need. So TV pays a lot of money to a lot of people to set the times that you play in order for them to, sell advertising and all. So I'm fine with it. I think Friday night's supposed to be high school football, but I mean, TV is setting our schedule for us now, and it's been a thing for the last 10, maybe 15 years, and you just have to get used to it.
So is it just based in tradition? I mean, Rocky Long, I think everybody would know, is kind of an old-school guy here. Is it just tradition that you would prefer Saturday football, or is there some sort of a disadvantage that you see from playing a day earlier?
Well, you're right. Tradition has something to do with it, and I was brought up when you played Friday night was high school, Saturday was college, and Sunday were the pros. So some of it's tradition, but most of it is the concern for the players. If you get into a routine as far as school goes and them getting their bodies healthy again for the next game, you should have a 7-week period, and they ought to be on a constant schedule so that everything works right. With the Friday night games, with the late Saturday night games, with the Tuesday game, you're disrupting their whole routine. So it makes it harder on the student athlete to do well in school, do well socially, as well as play football. I mean, when you play a 7:30 game in Hawaii, like we did the other night, we didn't get home. Our team didn't get home until 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So that throws everything off and makes it hard on the players especially, and I think that is a concern.
Well, I would guess if there's one positive to be taken, then it is at least you get to play the one at home, right? I mean, it must be for everything that you just rattled off there. It would sound like it would be even worse if you had to play this one on the road.
You would if you hadn't played the Friday night before. Now, Utah State played the Friday night before, so
right.
They have a whole week to prepare. We played on a Saturday night, so we're one day short. So there's a little advantage there, but it's much better to be playing at home, especially if we can get a big crowd.
How about from a recruiting standpoint? As you mentioned, high school football is traditionally what people think of when they think of Friday night. Friday Night Lights, heck, they made a movie out of it, wrote a book about it. How do you recruit when so much high school football is taking place on a Friday night? I mean, do you ever worry that, hey, the kids that we're recruiting aren't even going to get a chance to see our games?
Well, there is some concern, but most of our games on Saturday, and that is one positive of playing late night Saturday because the high school kids are usually home by that time, and they actually watch you on TV if you're the late game or the last game on Saturday night, so that helps. When you play on Saturday, most of them can come to the game because most of them play on Fridays. I just don't like to take the emphasis away from high school football. Now, the positive of being on Friday night, we're the only game. I mean, at that time, we're the only college football game that's being played, and so a lot of other people get to watch us, and if you play well, there's some huge advantages. If you don't play well, there's some huge disadvantages.
No doubt about it. Coach, this is a Utah State team which comes in here on top of the Mountain Division of the Mountain West Conference. Everybody saw, I didn't see the game, but gosh, I was paying attention. They forced 7 turnovers against Boise State, which I don't even know how that's possible. They end up beating the Broncos 52-26, which is a huge win for Utah State heading into this game. What did you see? What impresses you most? Is it what they did defensively? They're also scoring a ton of points here over the last 3 or 4 games.
Well, number one, they're really, really good on defense. Their front 7 guys are a lot like Penn State's, and that's the best we've seen so far. Their offense is very unique. They do a lot of different things, and they're really fast. And their quarterback, they use him mostly as a running back as well as a thrower, but they have designed running plays for the quarterback. He's probably the second fastest guy on their team. But overall, team speed, it's the best team speed that we'll play against since California. Defensively, it's the best defensive front 7 that we played against since Penn State. They're playing well.
Coach, final question for me would just be about your quarterback, Maxwell Smith. And before the season started, we had asked what you, as a program, as the head coach, what it is that you want from your quarterback. And you said, listen, we don't need the guy to go out there and be Phillip Rivers every single week. You know, he's got a good running game. We need him to manage it a little bit, make a couple plays, don't turn the ball over. And, you know, for a couple of weeks there, it was a huge question mark. What kind of production were you getting? Who even should be the quarterback of the Aztecs? Over the last 3 weeks, hasn't had a turnover, one of the longer streaks in the country. I wonder if this is what you thought you were getting when you went out there and found Maxwell Smith.
I think this is what we wanted to have happen. In the last 3 weeks, he's been playing very efficiently. He's been getting into the right protections, the right running plays. When he has open guys, especially deep balls, when he has open guys, he's putting the ball on the money. I think he's playing to the level we expected him to play, and I think he's getting a little bit better. I think he's getting more confident, and he's throwing the intermediate pass better here lately too.
Well, it should be fun. Are you expecting what kind of crowd are you expecting? Any idea? Friday night?
I have no idea. I hope a big one shows up, and they're all for us.
I hope so too. Hey, Coach, always our pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. We will see you on Friday night.
All right, Darren. Appreciate it. Thank you.